What's up, people? It's your girl Karina. We're gonna try this again, okay? Because I just had an audio issue, so we're going to do this again. I'm checking for the audio right now. And welcome to the Jupiter and Pisces talk. If you're here for the replay, I'll have timestamps down below so you can jump around to the parts that you want the most. Let's test this out. Yeah, okay. I think we got audio that works now. Welcome to the Jupiter and Pisces talk. This is going to be an exciting time because we Jupiter, Pisces classic planetary ruler, Neptune, Pisces modern ruler, both in the same sign. And for 2021, we get a taste of it. The dates where we're going to start to experience this begin on May the 14th and go all the way until July. July the July the 28th. Okay? So and then Jupiter will retrograde, go back into Aquarius, and then what's up, everyone? And then what will happen is it will stay in Aquarius, handle its unfinished business in those last degrees of Aquarius from like 22 to 29, and then comes back on December 30th to begin its true cycle into Pisces, okay, and into 2022. So, this is going to be an exciting time because there are so many things that you can uncover, release, and explore through this energy. And with both ruling planets here, we're going to experience the highs and the higher octanes, but also have possibilities of wanting to travel into more of the lower dimensional places and start to actually approach things in a way in which you are in the video game and you are choosing what places you want to explore. So when we look at Pisces, places could be traveling with the ancestors, traveling through space and time continuums, becoming your own superhero, becoming your own fantasy avatar, creating a role for yourself, and also just being in this entire masquerade, right? Going through the astral realms, going through the psychic realms, traveling to the other side of the physical dimensions, traveling up and through the physical dimensions. It's an entire ocean that you can play and swim in. And you can go up to the surface or you can go all the way down into the more physical matter, which we can, put together as the matrix. We can call it the matrix here, which is dealing with your physical manifestations and the things that are coming at and towards you. And so I am really kind of seeing myself as like Neo because I think that I'm uh, dabbling into the physical realm and trying to maintain spiritual explorations. So for you, where is it that you find you want to explore? What roles do you want to play? What characters or avatars do you feel you identify with? And now is the time for you to get a taste of that. But of course, there's the shadow of the deception, the shadow of the secrets. And this is because Pisces is beyond the physical. So things aren't as they seem always, right? There is so much more layers to what you see in the physical world as to what you think you're seeing. And sometimes these layers are merely just reflections or projections of ourselves. So we're diving deep into our subconscious. We're diving deep into our triggers and our memories, the things that were great memories, nostalgic memories, all the way to the things that were not so great. And this is a chance for you to journey through your own soul's reasons for existing, for experiencing, for a calling or vocation, something that is beyond just you and your personal, independent, and physical needs. Because Pisces is connected to the world, to humanity, to space, to all spirit, soul, and life. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And let me know where Pisces is in your chart. What house is Pisces in your chart? Okay. All right. So I wanted to play this. I don't know. I might get pulled off for doing this. I'm going to try to fix this, but I love this music. This is Triple H, and this is the energy of playing in the lower realm, right? And like that Matrix dealing with the matrix, becoming your own avatar with all of that. So bear with me. This transition should have been way more exciting and dramatic. Okay, so here we go. And we're going to go ahead and invite Facebook over as well while I'm playing this for you guys. Here we go. Time to play the game. Okay. It's all about the game, and how you play it. It's all about control. If you can take it, it's all about you stand. If you can play it, it's all about fate. Who's gonna make it? I am the game. You don't wanna play me. I am control. No way you can shake me. I am heavy debt. No way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run. Okay, you guys, if you're not into wrestling, that is the intro song to Triple H. And it's always been one of my favorite intro songs. And I actually think it's so appropriate for this because I talked about in an Aquarius video how Aquarius is the experiment. Okay, Aquarius is the experiment because it is the obtaining of knowledge, right? And by Aquarius, from Sagittarius to Aquarius, that's what we're doing. But once you hit Pisces, now you see all of the freedom that you have and the choices to make. And so I just love that song because it's about saying that you're in the game, you're playing the game, you want to be able to make the choices that you want knowing that you're in the game. And so I hope that that gives you guys an idea of Jupiter and Pisces from my point of view. We've got Venus and Pisces in the house. We've got Midhaven 29 degrees, Mars 1 degree Pisces, fifth house, Pisces second house, Venus and Pisces, Pisces in the fourth house. Okay. So if you have any planets in Pisces, Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, especially the personal ones, right? So you're going to want to look and see if you have any planets that are within the first degrees of Pisces, like 0, 1, 2 degrees, basically. Those are going to be the ones that those planets in that frame, give or take, 3 degrees a little bit further in. So, like, let's say 6 degrees, all the way back to, even in Aquarius. So if you got Aquarius, planets in Aquarius from like 27 degrees, 28, 29, right? This is going to be an impactful time where your personal planets will be ignited the most. If you have planets that are further into the zodiac, then they will be ignited more in 2022. Okay. So when you look at Jupiter is a planet of expansion and fortune, good luck, fame, and it does very well with fame in Pisces. It's very big on publishing, which becomes a time of creating your own like thing, item that could last forever or hold memories, hold stories, hold concepts, hold anything that are that could be stored. It's like your own physical Akashic record. And so when we look at where Pisces is in your house, houses, you can see where you not only just playing the game, but you're also having these opportunities to tap into your creativity, to tap into what do you want to leave behind? What is it that you want to be remembered? Or what is it that you want to dwell on the nostalgia of or add to history or the mysteries for the future, basically, and in your part to play in which you are connected to everyone, in which you're not individualized, where you find in Aries. And you'll see that the transits that are happening in Aries right now, with Chiron being there, are really pulling people beyond just being solo, beyond just being, independent, pulling people more towards that. Because Chiron is allowing people to see where this shadow of being independent isn't serving you, and how you can do so much more and be so much more impactful when you're connected to others, and that you need others, and that a part of the human experience is coming here and learning about self, and then self into the world, and self into relationships, and self into others, and self into all of humanity when you surrender to the physical and go back into the spiritual, um world. So this idea of Jupiter and Pisces is going to really be interesting, especially because we're not in Pisces seasons. We're going to be in a summertime, right? So it's the summertime nostalgia energy that might be happening. I think we can already see it with the trends of like the 70s and rollerblading and roller skating, and dealing with the experiment that we just went through, right? The Aquarius experiment. I'll try to remember to link that video. Now we're but trying to get back to the soul, trying to get back to the sense of purpose, the sense of reason, um, reason for wanting to even be in the game. Already feeling it. I had to stop wearing a Moldavite. And again, this energy of Pisces is beyond, so it's into space, connected to, extraterrestrial ideas and beings and states of light and dimensional travels. So we're gonna get a taste of this being more emphasized, this being more expanded. And so every house is going to, manifest this differently. This is also just what the tendency of the house would be. And because Pisces is such a vast energy, it's hard to cover every single possibility with every house. But in you knowing your house system, you tell me Pisces in your house, or in all of the houses. Let's all be astrologers today, okay? Because your girl is tired. So help me out. I can't remember everything. While we go through the houses, you tell me what you think that Jupiter and Pisces will be in the houses, and let's make this a community thing. Because like the message is, it's not about being solo and being so individualized, but recognizing how we get more done together, right? And you get things done with groups of people of same interests and all of those things. As Pisces is the the higher development of Aquarius, which is the energy that we're coming out of, right? Jupiter out of Aquarius and this whole experiment. So, what's up, Carlette? Hello. Pisces is sun sign. Awesome. Okay, so Jupiter and Pisces in the first house. Okay, the first house is the body, the personality, a part of the appearance. So this ends up being where it's classically said that Jupiter in the first house can make you more, gain more weight. So you always have to mention that when you go Jupiter through the houses. Um, I know that when Jupiter went through my first house, that was when I was pregnant. So everything got bigger. But it doesn't always have to manifest this way, because Jupiter can just pull a lot of people to you, and you're just gaining a lot of wise spiritual types of people, people who want freedom, who want to be optimistic, just that Jupiterian vibe of people, and a lot of them coming at you, and a lot of new acquaintances, new impressions to make with Jupiter in the first house. Now, Jupiter in the second house becomes more about the idea of income and money. And quite often, this can be where Jupiter spends more money than actually contains it. But especially with Pisces, because this energy is about charity, especially when it's connected to money. So when we're looking at Jupiter in the second house, you could maybe hold on to your money if you're focused on investing in things that are charitable, maybe benefiting off of tax advances or things like that, that will help to show that you're not being selfish about it. You're not being, too much, in your Aries and Taurus nature, and more in this Pisces, this giving nature. So like being more charitable, or some sort of income that has to do with drinks, because Pisces rules over alcoholic drinks, but all drinks of all types. That's also another way that happens, because it's manifesting of an income ability here. but also wants to spend. This could be spending on exotic travels and expending on exotic things, exotic types of jewelry, clothing, things that are beyond what you normally would maybe buy, something that might be just really, really expensive, right? Or something that would be really, really like handmade or something like that. So, Jupiter and Pisces in the second house is connecting you to your spirituality, right? Just like Jupiter in the first house is connecting you to your spirituality as well by connecting you around spiritual people. In the second house, it's spiritual connections to how does money flow through me and I into others, and like almost like bringing people up as you grow in money, like never forgetting that you're connected to everyone and how wealthy that is. And so the shadow of that in the second house would be a complete loss of possessions if we become too much about I need to protect myself and be about survival, or I have phobias about being broke, things like that, in which I am not in the energy to give. These would be maybe the shadows of Jupiter and Pisces in the second house. Now, Jupiter and Pisces in the third house, we're going to find this energy to be about communication. This is where we might really be on this level of creativity, poetry, series, scripts, developing beautiful skills. Like the third house is your skills. So Jupiter brings fortune and luck towards the skills that you have almost naturally have, the natural talents that you have, and how these talents can communicate to the world, to others beyond you, right? Maybe like, wow, like I never imagined playing the flute. Now I want to go play the flute because this person is showing me in their some sort of media platform. The third house is communications as well. Like, so of course, this is social media, this is text message, video, or like a community clubhouse, coffee space where you're connected to creativity, you're connected to self expression, and starting to really tap into how you're connected to the all through your community, right? So sometimes this could also mean an astral travel or psychic wandering, right? It could be psychic, intuitively psychic, because it's that Neptunian energy in the third house of comprehension, right? So there's a lot of psychic gifts here, but there's also the tendency to, especially with Jupiter, because Jupiter expands, to go a little too far into psychosis. It might be the shadow side of it. So if you have Jupiter in Pisces, this might be a topic that you learn more about, or something that you're really focused more on mental health, as that third house is also the lower mind. So it's like Jupiter and Pisces are trying to lift the mind into this higher octane, but the lower mind is there for a reason, and it's like it's battling itself. Okay. And so the thing that I really wanted to stress in the intro was this idea of role playing and fantasy and avatars and the world that you're living in. And then just imagine that you had everything that you wanted in this world, and then all of a sudden it gets attacked by a virus. And all of a sudden you are being attacked by all of these Decepticons and agents, and you're trying to figure your way through, right? And it's because you are creating from the subconscious space, Jupiter and Pisces, your inner world, that inner space. And there's always going to be something that manifests to test you, manifests to see if you are really about that world, if that world really is coming from within you, or is it more way too out of reach, right? Because the out of reach overexpansion of fantasy also happens with Jupiter and Pisces. So it's like there's this balance that you're looking for, but creating worlds is such a it incorporates fantasy and creativity. It incorporates these things, but remember that you are the creator of that world, and remember not to fall for the Decepticons and the agents that are coming at you. So this applies to all the houses, but in the third house, I want to stress this, and maybe this is why, because of the mental health, sh- um, you know, emphasis here, basically. Carla asks, are you referring to the placement of Jupiter in a natal chart? No, I'm referring to where Pisces is in your natal chart. So this is going to start from, where is your rising? What is the zodiac sign that your rising is, right? And from that rising, the zodiac moves in a wheel in the order of the seasons. So Pisces falls somewhere in your chart. This is why my language on Facebook is where the zodiac sign is in your chart, which is making the assumption that you are all the signs. So you are all the signs, and somewhere in your chart, Pisces falls, and then you want to find what house that is, even if you don't have planets there, because Jupiter is going to be going through there. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the transit of Jupiter in 2021 from now until the end of July. All good, all good. Just want to make sure because I know that there's some people here that will come in and watch the replay or just watch it and they're not as familiar with how the chart is broken down. And there is this sort of assumption that I have that most people understand the basics of the chart, but it also is the topic at hand. Either way, if you are somebody who needs the basics on how the whole thing is created and run and how to, read the chart or read it how I see it, check out all good, all good. Okay, now this is the other thing. Publishing is so powerful here because Mercury in Pisces is kind of the opposite energy, right? When you look at Virgo being the opposite. So we're Virgo and the third house, and these concepts of, even though Virgo is a sixth house, but Mercury is a third house placement. Like the third house and comprehension can be difficult unless it is in a space of poetry, creativity, because misunderstandings can happen. We're also entering into a Mercury retrograde, so okay. So moving on, when we look at Jupiter in Pisces, moving through Pisces, the first degrees of Pisces in 2021, and if this is happening in your fourth house, right? So really what you really want to do is look at where is 0 to 2 degrees Pisces in your chart. You want to go to your chart and look for 0 to 2 degrees Pisces and then look and see what house that is, because it's not always going to align if you're not using like the whole or the equal sign houses. So just look at where 0 or 2 degrees is in whichever chart you use, and then look at that house placement. So in the fourth house, this becomes our home, where we're comfortable, where we're private, where we're dealing with our privacy, and boundaries can really be lost here. Um, I guess I should maybe jumped right in there, but boundaries becomes a test here. And people who are going to be like agents and Decepticons are going to really be testing your boundaries. Like you may really struggle with dealing with people coming into your house or protecting your house or your home. And I'm not saying that, you're in danger, but you do want to watch out because there is also this energy of thievery that can happen in the second and the fourth house, in the houses that have to do with stuff that we have and own. And so that happens in the fourth house, being that it's your home, so you want to watch out. And this is not to create any sort of belief in you that it's going to happen either. But what you might want to do is just think about who you're inviting to your home and who and be more intentional about those things, because it could be like, just somebody you don't know or who has a friend and they go scoop scoop, they pick up, some silverware or something like that. And I'll be sure to mention the positive of the fourth house too, which is what I should have started with. That's usually my game plan, but it knocked me right into saying this first. But the fourth house is connected to also your heritage, your bloodline. So this is where you might really get those like bloodline tests or DNA tests, learning about, where and how far you can go, how far back you can trace yourself, trace the history, trace the mysteries of, your family and great great greats, and the stories behind those, as far as you can go with finding out the stories, as this is Akashic record alert house. The 12th house is clearly the main one, but the fourth house becomes one as well, and is very connected to the great grands, and how you can maybe even discover patterns of strengths about your DNA, strengthening your connection to heritage and ancestry, and also the things that you might want to be changing and adapting now that we're in a different time frame, right? As Pisces is the mutable sign. Um, Jupiter in the fourth house sounds like a new home. It could definitely be a new home. Changing, mutable, absolutely. And definitely by water if you're not already there, living near some sort of water, body of water might be very important here with that, especially with Jupiter really needing the emotions to be channeled through and released as much as possible. Um, Now, in the fifth house, this is the deep well of creativity, the deep visions of a masterful masterpiece. As the fifth house is where we create movies versus TV shows, right? So the fifth house is where you have big concerts and big visuals versus, just a cute little video of somebody playing the guitar. So this idea of making things bigger than they are. Thank you for your donation. Thank you. So the idea of making things bigger and more outside of you, even though it comes from inside of you, but once you go beyond you, it's less about creating for just my self-fulfillment. It's like it's got me in it, but it's got me and everyone else, and how important it is that with seeing myself as everyone else. I think an artist that is very Jupiterian, that is really embodying that, and she's very young, is Billie Eilish. Because the way that she writes, even though it's coming from her, people from all walks of life and specifically generations, which are, I don't even know what the generations are called now, who are like in their 20s and 19, 20, 21, but please help me and tell me what they're called. But them, and then, people who love the Beatles, right? From the 60s, like she's able to merge these two things because it's this kind of creation that is beyond her. It's coming out of her, and it's reaching beyond her. Because when we're dealing with Jupiter, and remember that Jupiter will cross over Neptune, and we got to look at that. We got to look at when Jupiter crosses over Neptune. But remember that is now, once we get to Jupiter, we're really pushing beyond the personal planets. We're not there yet. Once you hit Saturn, that's the bridge beyond your personality. But Jupiter, it's the higher octane of what's possible for you, the higher wisdom of where you're moving towards. So everything is after you have gone through the shadows, you come into this light, and this light being expands and wants to bring light into all others, and all others beyond all others, and all others beyond all others, which is why we get into the astrals. And the light just keeps going, or maybe coming closer, depending on what the real science is, how light works, and I'm not really sure, but that's what we're dealing with Jupiter. And then Neptune brings it into this deep memory space where anyone could tap in. It's crazy. It's hard to put into words, which is why Mercury doesn't do as well here trying to explain things. But when we move into the sixth house, we'll find that Jupiter and Pisces now is also connected to this connection. Again, the 12th, the 4th, and now the 6th, connected to something deeper, heritage. But the sixth house is a calling. It's like, this is it's the true house of feeling like you have an engine that's running on purpose, a vocation, a calling. When you think about the 12th, the 4th, and the 6th, I think about the symbol for Batman. And by the time you get to the 12th is like knowing that he's a hero or a role player of service, right? And how that's connected to the ancestors. The fourth house is knowing his, pain or trauma or the issues of family and how that's connected to the ancestors. And then in the sixth house, it becomes what we're going to do, what we're going to do about it, and how that's connected to the ancestors. The next job, the next, once your ancestor has completed their job, they move on and you almost inherit. It's an inherited calling of the sixth house, a place of service. This is where we deal with the concepts of humility and, service beyond self. So with that being said, Jupiter in Pisces in the sixth house is going to be a time to connect to what you're doing and how it is so truly rooted in spirit and soul. And you may be working as like in a costume, you might be working in a role, you might actually benefit off of being able to portray a role. So this is definitely a place where you might literally be an actor, but even if you work in a nurse's office, there's a certain kind of nurse I would choose to be. So, being able to portray this role and it's coming out of you, it's birthing out of you, right? And how powerful it is that you are serving people through this role that you've birthed out of you, right? And also the Decepticons and the things that are going to be coming at you that might actually throw you off of your calling, right? Just like how Batman has the Joker, the villains, you too will have that in any house where Pisces is laid. And going back to the fourth house, that's what I would say is that your Decepticons might be those people coming into your home. So watch out for that. Okay, a sixth house, it becomes um these people could be clients, they could be bosses, they could be coworkers. These agents are Decepticons, okay? Testing you in your own world, testing you to see if you truly are creating the world. Do you remember? Jupiter in Pisces is tapping you into memories, is expanding your memories. Do you remember that you were creator of this world? Right? Or are you still lost in the experiment when Jupiter was in Aquarius? Right? Because if you knew you were in the experiment, then you know now that you're creating the world. Okay? Because we're leveling up here with Jupiter and Pisces. So how leveled up are you? How ready are you? And the sixth house is going to tap that in. How ready are you to stand in your calling? How ready are you to stand in this purpose, this thing that's beyond you? Um, Now, Jupiter in Pisces in the seventh house is going to be connected to commitments, marriage or business alike, as classically known. And so, with here becomes this deep, deep connection, karmic connection to whomever it is that you're committed to. And it may not necessarily be in a person form, it might just be your commitment style, right? Your commitment style might actually really be kind of places. And so this is of Pisces. The thing with the eighth house is that there's almost a place of neglect in not being able to see what are the things that I'm holding in, or the pieces that I chose to forget, or the things that I don't want to remember or want to keep in my mind, right? um it's the battle of the light and the dark, because this is Scorpio's house now, and Jupiter in Scorpio's house with Pisces here, especially Pisces and Scorpio energy in the eighth house, can go very deep and taboo. But the reasons as to why the psychology is the way that it is, the light, the truth which Jupiter will bring, is sometimes very uncomfortable. So you may have been enjoying your secret world, but now it may be exposed, or light might come to it, things that you didn't want to see. This is the shadow house. So Jupiter in Pisces is going to show you the things that maybe you didn't want to see. And your relationship to seeing things that you don't want to see, I feel like that is the energy of this reading, this entire read right now. Because this Jupiter in Pisces place shows you where you're still at a loss of power. Okay, so if you've got this here, you're still not choosing your world, you're still not creating your world, even though you clearly are. You might be, exploring other people's worlds, living vicariously through other people's worlds, not working on your own world, or destroying your own world, or destroying other people's worlds. This is what ends up happening here. Until you truly embody the fact that everything that you've experienced, everything that happens has a reason, has a everything that you ever partake in has a seed. It has something that it came from. Everything that you are about has a meaning, reason, or a seed as to where it comes from. And this can sometimes be jarring when you have this bright, it's like too bright. It's like, damn, when Jupiter comes into the eighth house. That's really bright. Urban Goddess Tarot, yes, I have Pisces in the eighth house. Yep, here we go. Do you have any personal planets there? So this is a metamorphosis of your power, helping you to become even more powerful. And the people that you're connected to here, they're going to really enlighten you in so many ways. Some of these ways might be more psychological, but they're also intimate. And this is a place where you can expand your knowledge of your own power and intimacy. Okay. Okay, now the ninth house is the natural place for Jupiter to travel through, and Pisces does fairly well here as well. The shadow of the ninth house with this is so much light. It's too much light, you know. I already talked about that in the eighth house. It's like, damn, it's bright in here. You know, when you've been in the dark and you turn on the lights, like, ouch, right? But in the ninth house, all the Decepticons are these light, too bright, you know, blinding light types, right? And so this becomes the thing that happens here, which some of it looks like arrogance, know-it-alls, just happy and never being sad, you know, never wanting to be positive and dark. These things start to occur. It's really eighth and ninth house that this energy really starts to occur here as a shadow. The shadow becomes too light. Okay. And so the thing here is of that balance here. And when that balance occurs, you get an authentic leader that people want to follow, that people want to understand their story, that people want to be able to reflect back that same kind of, you know, wisdom and authenticity that occurs. So it's actually releasing the veil. You know, it's very much about being as connected to the spirit through the body, right? It's the ninth house is very masculine energy, and masculine energy actually connects very well to spirit through physicality. And I think in the ninth house that ends up happening in a very beautiful way to maintain balance here. And the beauty and the oasis and the utopia that occurs is so possible when Jupiter goes through Pisces in the ninth house. Okay, now moving into the 10th house, we have the house of career. And so this is going to be where the fame is probably doubled and leveled up more than any other house besides the 11th and 12th house, right? So the fame only gets stronger possibility or probabilities as we get here. But it may not necessarily just be fame, but legacy, right? It might be about recognition of contribution to, you know, a journey of a certain people, of a certain family, of a certain, you know, community that you belong to, being able to put a stamp, a landmark of achievement for this community that you belong to. And so that is kind of that career. It's the care, you know, in the word career that you bring to the people that you have serviced, right? In the sixth house. So what we have here is this, you know, we can have beautiful things occur here, you know, manifestations that are, you know, able to hold a physical meaning of memory or something you did, a contribution of financial stature, physical building stature, company, corporation, business stature that could benefit financially and, you know, economically and so many ways. Security, secure a certain community or group of people. So Jupiter and Pisces can be very powerful here, um, in its legacy. Now, when we look at, and it can be very also like angelic as well. It could be very angelic, angel, donor, angels. I'm trying to think of what other roles to play, but that becomes very possible there. Um, and yes, there are going to be Decepticons. You might become one of them in the 10th house. So you have to watch out because you're the one who's in the public eye, which means that you get to choose how much authenticity you show, which, some people abuse that power. And Pisces is not as much of a let me reveal everything, but when things are revealed with Pisces, it becomes healing to people. So these are the choices that you have with Jupiter in Pisces in the 10th house. And it actually crosses right over into the 11th house as far as the people who are in your network that you're bringing up with you, the people that have supported you, the people that you inspire to be like you or to be of this community, right? And how they are almost like equal to you, but also following you, right? They're equal in status to you, they're equal in mindset, right? And mentality to you, but they're still following you, they're still supporting you. It's not this power dynamics that's happening with these people in the 11th house. So the expansion of your network starts to be bigger and bigger. This is where you get it. I call it supporters more than fans now. I used to call it fans, but it's more like supporters. And you get this network of supporters that are backing you up, and you can become very mighty, very influential here with Jupiter and Pisces. Um, and so some of the Decepticons will be clearly people who are not supporting you, who are against your ideals or your values or the vision that you have. Now, when we go into the 12th house, this is the real place where you're like really dealing with this video game, role play, fantasy world, spiritual realm, fiasco. And you guys are the real ones with Jupiter going through Pisces in the 12th house, because you guys are the ones who actually maybe have played this game before. You've been playing this game. You might be the ones teaching everyone else how to play the game. You might be the ones, helping people to navigate, because you know the true meaning of loss and surrender, and how powerful and how much strength it takes to be in that space, right? You've played the game so much, meaning that you've lost many times. And so you might have the cheat codes, and you may want to give it to people, or you may want to help them be able to do it as you did it. You have so much power with Jupiter going through the 12th house, and the Decepticons will be the people or the things or the situations that actually just triggered doubt in your own capability of navigating the game, actually your game. In fact, you guys might be the true creators of the games right now. You guys might be the real wizards right now. Does it mean anything significant to have Jupiter and Pisces in my natal chart and for Jupiter to be ending Pisces this year? Yes. If you have Jupiter and Pisces in your natal chart and Jupiter is transiting, that means you're about to have a Jupiter return. Okay. So where Jupiter is in your natal chart, these are natural gifts and fortunes that you have. Depending on how Jupiter's aspected, you are either struggling to find your natural gift because it's like maybe right in front of you, or you're battling with it, you're wanting something else. There's reasons why we just don't walk in our talents. There's so many reasons why, but that's what could be happening, right? And so you're dealing with lessons upon lessons during your Jupiter return. I had a friend who had Jupiter in Libra, and beautiful, right? But the lesson was this relationship that really was just not working for her, right? So instead of Jupiter and Libra being one where maybe you would be hopeful for marriage or a highly divine relationship, it became a lesson upon lesson upon lesson about this deteriorating relationship. Um, so depending on where Jupiter is, you are either really doing well because you know their natural talent, or you still need to learn that that you know what your real talent is, but it's like right in front of you. You know, somebody with Jupiter in Pisces has natural psychic gifts, natural abilities to, you know, tap into the intuition, natural abilities to have compassion for people. But maybe you rob people of of compassion because your Jupiter talent is scorned or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Jupiter and Pisces and the Jupiter Pisces return, some of your talents is this ability to tap into the emotional spectrum, to feel all the things, to be able to empathize with somebody from all walks of life, from all points of views, even the most hated points of views, like somebody who is, you know, God forbid, you know, a murderer or something like that. You can tap into the core and the reasons and the everything, the esoteric behind that, and even empathize with somebody that would be in jail, that would be, you know, um, a reject of society. So the Jupiter and Pisces empathy and emotional spectrum is very, very deep. And so you are either holding on to this and it's a beautiful thing, or you're fighting against it and you might be judgmental or, you know, arrogant or, you know, like, you know, making people bad guys and criminals. So your Decepticons might actually be people who look like they are your enemy when Jupiter is in Pisces in the 12th house. And if you have Jupiter in return, you might also be dealing with which one are you? Where are you placed? Are you really good at your emotional intelligence, or are you really struggling and you're getting a lot of situations that are testing how emotionally adept are you? Even the ones that seem like weak emotions, you might be tested on the most. You know, like how able are you to empathize with somebody who is homeless or something like that? And so these are things that can happen with all of this Jupiter and Pisces energy. I do offer natal readings. My Etsy store has mainly an emphasis on Venus blueprint and what else is there? Your birthday stuff. My Etsy store is Venus and your birthday. But if you guys wanted me to do a personal reading, it's just not something that I offer like on a platform, but you can email me and or just contact me through social media and we can set up something. Um so we've got Jupiter in Aries in the building, we've got Jupiter in Libra, but where is Pisces in your chart, okay? Because if you've got Pisces, if you've got Jupiter in a sign that trines Pisces, that if your natal Jupiter is somewhere that is in the mutable sign, so it's making some sort of aspect to Pisces or Jupiter Pisces that would give you challenge, these are things that you want to jump into also. Jenny Jones says, I recognize my gifts, but I am struggling. I haven't done anything about it yet. Yay, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so you'll get a taste of it as well. And just like, you know, Neo fighting the Smiths in the Matrix, you know, these are just exercises. These are games, you know, this world that you're creating are games that you are strengthening your own spiritual power, that you create everything. It's the spiritual truth that you are creator of everything. And once you hit that, anything that you really desire to manifest is possible. So we should really end this by saying that you can choose whatever role you play, but I say that everyone becomes an alchemist and becomes a magician. Um, and just how well do they utilize that power is going to be the question. You know, do they utilize it for their own gains to take over the world, or do they use it for their gains to, you know, help the world, heal the world, make the world a better place, like the song says? So thank you guys so much for Jupiter and Pisces little chat here. I'll probably take a few days and there'll be a timestamp down below, but please share this with somebody that you think likes this geeky astrology stuff. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace and love.